Hi everybody, Dr. Joe here today, and we're going to get into really what's a difficult topic for a lot of people to understand. As a physical therapist, as someone who was a back pain sufferer for years and years, and as someone who is a proponent of flexibility and mobility exercises, there's a lot people miss out on because we talk about stretching like it's this magical cure-all. And this research study is really a perfect example of what stretching doesn't do that a lot of us think it does do. So I'm going to run you through the research study real quickly, and then kind of give you some takeaways that'll be really valuable for you. So the first thing is what the study did. The study was looking at injury prevention and what things were successful and what things weren't successful when it came to injury prevention. So it measured 4 different things. It looked at strength training, which you'll see here. It also looked at stretching. It looked at proprioception, which is essentially body awareness training. And then it looked at different combinations of those things. And it dug through a lot of research. So this is what's called a systematic review. So instead of just being one specific study, it actually compiled a bunch of studies together. So it had 25 different studies. It had 26,000 different participants. So this had some significant ability to strongly make a conclusion, which you don't see with smaller research studies. And anyway, a lot of this is some nitty-gritty stuff, and I've got a background in research. I'm not going to get into it because, I had to take classes to understand this type of stuff. But I do want to draw you to the end of the results here and then to the conclusions. And what you'll see is both acute injuries and overuse injuries could be reduced with physical activity programs. So this study showed the ability to avoid injury based on certain exercises and exercise programs. And then we go to the conclusion. We look at basically everything worked besides stretching. And again, I know a million of you have been to the doctor, and you've gone to the doctor and they've given you exercises. Those exercises were almost always stretching. That's probably why a lot of you ended up back at those places or still having that pain a year later, because the research is clear. Stretching does not prevent injuries. It also doesn't seem to fix injuries. It's really about learning to control your body movement, getting strong enough to absorb the different forces that happen out there. And again, this was strong. We're looking at strength training reducing 1/3 of acute injuries, half of overuse injuries. Again, this is something I lecture on as an adjunct professor, where I talk about the difference between how different injuries occur and what we think are the best ways to prevent them. And this is providing hard data saying we can in fact prevent them. We can prevent them in significantly statistical ways. If you were someone who is a golfer and you've had back pain for years and years, and you've done the chiropractor thing, you've done the physical therapist thing, and all everyone ever tells you is to stretch and stretch and stretch, that's not going to be the answer. I can do some separate videos about getting into what is the answer, but this is kind of the overarching theme here, which is stretching is not going to get you where you need to get from an injury prevention and a function standpoint. You've got to have some strength. You've got to understand proprioception. You've got to have some control. You've got to have body awareness. All of that stuff goes to preventing injuries, and a lot of this other stuff just really falls short. So I know probably a lot of people have questions. I know probably a lot of people are like, you were insane. I believe in stretching. This person told me about it and helped this thing. That gets into some other stuff that I can talk about later. But again, if you want to stay uninjured, you've got to strength train, you've got to work control, you've got to work proprioception. That is where the bang for your buck is. Thanks, everybody.